Hello and welcome to episode 19 of Sonic Touch, the show dedicated to making music on touch devices. I'm Nick Batt, editor of Sonic State, and I'm actually in HD quality. This is the first time that we've tried to use all the HD cameras, so this is me, and...
I'm Gaz Williams, also in HD.
So today we had a whole show planned, it was looking good, and then as often happens, a spanner gets thrown in the works. What happened, Gaz?
Yes, a rather large, important app got released last night, and we had to cover it because it's a bit exciting.
So yeah, so the show's slightly different. We might be a little bit ragged around the edges, but I know it's going to be worth it. First up, we've got the news of AudioBus. AudioBus has finally been released. It's been in development for several months, and it's quite big news, right, Gaz?
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's for those of you who don't know what it is, AudioBus allows you to effectively plug the audio outputs of one app into another one or through other ones, and so now all these wonderful apps, you can actually get them to really play well together.
Yeah, and they all the audio effectively routes between them.
Yes,
and that's internal. It's iOS 6 only, but
it does seem to work actually quite well. We should mention at this point though, there's only a handful of apps which are currently supporting it, but pretty much all the major apps will support it in the near future.
So let's take a look.
So let's load up AudioBus now. Here it is. It's possibly the simplest interface I've ever seen. And well, just a quick look through it. We've got help and we've got this apps page. Now this shows us what AudioBus currently supports. And this is going to be a good place to kind of keep track of what it currently does. So we can see that's how many things it shows so far. So let's see how it works. Let's go into connections. So we can now we can take an input, which could be like a sound generating thing, be it a synthesizer or whatever, an effect slot, and an output, maybe like a recorder. So in the input slot, I'm going to, in this case, I'm going to load in Thumb Jam, one of my favorites. In the output slot, I'm going to load in Loopy. And then in the effect slot, I'm going to load in Jam Up Pro, which is a guitar amp simulator. So clicking on those, you can see the sleep, they're not actually loaded into the memory yet, but just by touching that then, it'll kind of load it in. Once it's loaded in, it'll then ping back to AudioBus. And then we can see that the other ones need doing as well. So I'm going to go in here, bring in Loopy, and then back again, and finally, let's just get the guitar amp simulator on. Wow, that was on. Let's just bypass that for a moment. Well, I'll just take the amp out. Now, what we can see on the right-hand side here is the little AudioBus tab. Now, for the apps that support it, this will appear, and we can just move it out of the way. And each app, you'll find AudioBus will be on one particular side. You don't, that the designer will think is probably the most suitable. So in this case, so once you know where it is, if I just look, the little tiny tab just shows on the side here, and then I can just drag it out. Now, so at the top, we can see the AudioBus logo, the Loopy logo, and the Thumb Jam logo. So this actually is quite nice in a way. As an app switcher, it allows us to jump to the different ones. So we'll just jump back to AudioBus now, and we'll go here. Now, when we see AudioBus, we can see that it's working because these little chevrons are indicating the signal flow.
The direction of the flow.
Yeah, that's right.
Is there only one effect slot?
There is, but you can have multiple inputs, although you'd only have one input at a time that you'd play at a time, but it means that you could have a whole bunch of synths all set up. But also, if I click on there, it also allows me to put the microphone input as the beginning. Now, that also would work for a guitar, so it's a way of being able to route an audio signal through the apps. So let's see how this actually works in practice. Right, from the AudioBus, I'm going to touch on Thumb Jam. So we can see a Thumb Jam at the top now. Thumb Jam is only a portrait app, but I mean, it's fine to play it like this. But we can see here the little AudioBus thing. Now, if I touch Loopy, Loopy is like a loop station. So we can treat it as a multi-track recorder, really. So I'm going to play a nice little flute sound here. But a bit polite. So let's chuck it through, a nasty bit of distortion. So we can see from on the AudioBus interface there that there's a switch, which is effectively, that's the bypass switch. Although strangely, when it's greyed out, it's on. And when it's black, it's off. So, but anyway, but the other symbol, that you touch that and that acts, oops, you touch that symbol and then that acts as a shortcut then. So now let's put this filthy distorted amp into the circuit. I'm going to touch thumb jam here and then this button here to take me back to thumb jam. That's more like it. Get a bit of shred with a flute.
Shrooting.
Shrooting. So you can see, it's, you know, being able to do things like that is quite good fun anyway, you know.
So effectively we're taking the output of thumb jam,
yes,
going through the effects,
yes,
and then into loopy, which presumably
yes,
we can then record, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we can see that the apps have specific functions. So like the Jam Up Pro, the guitar amp, has the basic bypass button, but Loopy has a record button and a play button.
Ah, so you can control it just from that tab?
Yes, and that's the cool thing. So I can hit record. James Galway, eat your heart out.
Actually, you're looking a bit like James Galway today.
Okay. So, there's my shrooty shred. Now, if I push this button, we can jump back and have a look. Basically, it's recorded that loop. And what's cool is if we jump back to, I'm going to bypass the effect, and I'm going to jump back to loopy, to thumb jam. Change instrument. Let's get like maybe, let's get just a cello. Okay. And what's nice, as soon as I jump into record in loopy, now let's have a look what's going on. So it's automatically gone into the next slot. And it'll continue to do that until you've used up all your slots.
Well, it's worth mentioning, actually, Loopy is the same developer who's behind, one of the people behind the development of AudioBus,
yes,
is also the developer of Loopy, which yes, is kind of why there's such tight and obvious integration to begin
yes,
with.
Yeah, yeah. And a cool thing as well is one of the limitations of Loopy has been that Loopy hasn't got any built-in effects. Well, now that's kind of cured with AudioBus because we're able to go back to the AudioBus app itself. You know, we could actually put Loopy in the input slot and route Loopy through effects.
All right, so it doesn't really distinguish between what is the effects and what is...
Well, it does. I mean, the apps have to specifically support that.
I mean, this is all fine, and it looks like it works quite well. But I mean, you know, have you run into any problems with it? Does it always work so smoothly? No.
I wonder why that is, because I've had a few peculiar things going on now. I think if you're going to use AudioBus, just make sure that you close down any apps in the background, double tap the home button and just close everything off and start from a clean slate.
Worth saying that this is Gaz is running this on an iPad 2.
iPad 2, yeah.
Okay, my iPad Vintage, which is sadly orphaned now, won't run this because it requires iOS 6, so you can forget about that. So you're really going to need iPad 2 and up. I don't know about a Mini. I guess a Mini should work too.
Yes, yeah. The Mini is exactly the same as the iPad 2 in terms of the processor and everything else. So if it runs on the iPad 2, it'll run on the Mini. Yeah.
Is there any kind of issue with programs running at different sample rates, or do they all run at the global sample rate of the iPad?
Right, I think that's a very interesting point. You know, when you look at the AudioBus app itself, you don't have any, I mean, there's no controls,
there?
Which is kind of a great strength of it in a way. But I noticed with one of the apps I was working, everything I recorded played back in half time, so there may be
an issue with the order of which apps come together, right?
I think with that particular instance, again, I reset everything and it didn't do it. So there's some peculiar things.
So I think it's fair to say we're at the kind of on the bleeding edge, maybe just a bit before. So, you know, you will experience a little bit of funkiness. I mean, this is early days, I guess, with it.
Yeah.
So AudioBus is available now at the App Store. Is it a free download, or how much does it cost?
No, it's £4.99.
So it's going to be around $6.99, something like that.
Yes.
And again, you know, the functionality that it brings is going to increase as more and more apps come online. In fact, I believe Animoog is supposed to be coming.
The exciting one, though, is that Auria is promising support. Now, Auria is the great multi-track software.
Wow, that's going to tax the CPU a little bit, I'd imagine.
So I think probably for iPad 4 users.
I'm guessing that it's only single root, so you can't run multiple instances and have kind of multiple channels. You just have one, an effect, and an out.
Yes, it really is incredibly simple to use, and I think that is the great strength, but also it could be, you know, you could see that as a limitation. I know that they are talking about being able to do AudioBus across different devices.
Yeah, Wi-Fi would be airlessly. What am I
yes,
airlessly? Wirelessly, it would be very.
And
cool.
I have read that your computer should be able to run it at some point as well, which
that would be
awesome, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would be amazing, because I mean, one of the issues that we've come across, I've been asked by a couple of people, is how do I integrate these instruments and things into my DAW world?
Yeah.
And, you know, frankly, you know, you need to get MIDI in and out, then you need to get audio in and out. So in most cases, you're going to be probably having a one wire or maybe wireless MIDI if you want to trust that latency. And then you've got analog out and you're reconverting it. And so that would probably be the killer app, I would imagine.
Yes. So, you know, let's hope that kind of gets implemented pretty soon.
So if you want to get hold of AudioBus, remember you're going to need an iPad 2 and above. You're going to need iOS 6. But just go and check out AudioBus in the App Store. So now to the surprise late entry to the show. What are we going to look at, Gaz?
It came out yesterday and I couldn't ignore it. It's Akai's iMPC.
Ooh, so this is, it's brand new, right?
Yep, it came out here yesterday, and it's effectively a recreation of a classic MPC. I think the MPC 2000, I think, is the kind of the basis for it, and it tries to simulate lots of the hardware, but it does have some extra goodies about it, which is iOS specific.
The MPC is just absolutely everywhere, isn't it? I mean, you can't get away from it. I mean, there's various iterations. People have been using that pad layout. So this will be very familiar to a lot of people. Yeah,
and if you are used to the workflow of an MPC, then I think you'd just be into this straight away, because it really does recreate that.
This is different to the MPC Fly. The MPC Fly is a combination of app and hardware.
Yes.
That's not this, right?
No, but this is the app that is the one that is featured as the Fly's sort of software. And the Fly is almost like a laptop kind of thing, but you put your iPad in there and then it gives you the physical controls.
Got to be hurting now if you've been designing for the iPad connector, and now you've got what is it, Lightning?
Lightning connector.
Yeah. Anyway, but let's not say that.
Okay.
On to the MPC. iMPC.
Okay, so this as a standalone app is like a 4-track in a way, that you've got effectively you've got 4 separate layers that you can run together. You can program in by playing. Yes, you can design your own layout, you can choose what's on each pad, and I think maybe one of the greatest strengths of this particular app is the library that comes with it, because it's got like a big library featuring lots of classic, genuine Akai MPC library sounds. So let's have a look at that first then. What we do here is we go to program, we hit the little pencil icon, and then we get a layout of the pads, and we decide what's on each of the pads. So we can go into the sound library, and I can say Akai Classic Sounds, for instance, and let's look at kicks. And we can see just within this bit, you know, we've got a fairly decent amount of kicks, and they all sound pretty cool. When you find one that you like, you just drag it and drop it on there. And go back to edit. Very limited editing, but we can set the volume, and we can set the tuning of the pad. We can also set whether it's a one-shot or hold, so for longer samples that you might want to hold on there. Now, the other thing that we can do as well is we can sample into it as well. So if we hit sample new sound, so we can record in with a microphone, or we could record...
line in or something.
Yeah, or you could resample as well. So
that's neat.
Yeah, so you could resample in. Now here, you see, so if we say load, you can get the
You can access your actual library?
Yes.
Sort of.
Sort of.
They're all greyed out,
They're greyed out because I've got iTunes in the cloud, so unfortunately you can't get them here. You'd have to pop out of the app, into your music library, get a song, put it into your library, back again. It's a little bit of a kludge. I would much rather
That sounds like, yeah.
Yeah.
But we have managed to get something in here.
We've got a sample in here, and we can see I think this is quite fun in a way. The MPC really made its name because people were using it to sample off turntables and and make like little kind of loops and things.
So this is like back to the roots.
Yeah,
almost.
yeah. So you can see here we've got our record, so we can press play. We can skip around the track, find a moment. Okay, just sample a little bit of it. Okay, I'll do. Now, so here's our sample.
Oh, so we can edit, yeah.
Yeah,
sort of.
Sort of. I mean, no normalize, it seems.
You can only trim it. You can't actually snip
sample
or slice or anything.
No. You know, so we could just take just like a segment of it. Got a test pad, and then select category. Then it wants you to put it into a category. So in this case, we'd say loops. Hit loops. I'm going to save to loops, and now. So that's because of the tuning.
Right, so I mean, that's quite nice.
Yeah. A
nice way to be able to access stuff. So if you did sort of pre-meditate a little bit, and maybe if you were using it to actually play live or whatever, you could bring in some of your loops that were pre-prepared or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. So so we'll save that. I'll take us back here. And we've got our sample in there. So this very much is recreating the workflow of an MPC. So if we hit record and play together, starts a click track, which is quiet, and I can't see how to turn that up. But
it's quiet. Yeah, that is quiet, isn't it?
So I lost the tempo then. Okay, but I have got like a fixed track which is quantized, and that's where we can apply the famous MPC swing as well.
And have we got note repeat and all that sort of stuff?
Yes, we've got note repeat.
Genius.
Yeah, and that actually latch.
I've got the music in me, Gaz.
The note repeat will latch. It's not particularly intuitive, but you press note repeat and you slide across, and then it will
looks
stay.
Like it could do with a status indicator.
And, yeah, you can see that it is depressed, but it's not that clear. Okay, so the actual thing itself is quite simple. Let's just have a quick tour around it. We've got effects, which are it's just a bit crusher, which is either on and off on the 4 tracks. A delay, which is like a send effect, and
that's pretty
compressor.
looking, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nice graphics. This app is developed by Retronyms, and Retronyms apps always have got a very nice, clean and crisp look, and we'll look at something else with Retronyms shortly now. So let's say done. Other than that, there's not a lot else to it really. So you know, we can take our pattern. Yeah, as I say, we've got four tracks.
Any filtering?
The filtering is done via 2 methods. The variation control, if I was to, at the moment that's not tuning, but if I change that to filter,
okay.
Or it uses the Akai 16 level function, whichever is the last pad I've just touched. Let's take our sample. I hit 16 level. So 16 level now gives us it's a way to play 16 pitches.
Yeah.
But if I hit filter, then so we've got 16 different filter levels.
So if you're familiar with the MPC kind of thing, it's adaptations to fit with that kind of vibe, right?
Absolutely. Now, once you've actually done something though, let's just grab some demos from here a minute. Let's jump out of 16 levels and let's unlatch note repeat and go to sequence. Now, if I jump into sequence, and then let's just jump to this grime step. This is one of the built-in ones.
You can flip patterns.
And you can flip patterns, yeah. And if we come out of here, we can actually use this to. It'll wait until it's completed its cycle. It'll flash, and then it'll increment to what.
So can you actually create songs in that way and sort of chain them together?
Nope.
Oh.
You can export, like, what they call a sequence is slightly odd because a sequence is just actually just...
a pattern.
A pattern.
Right.
Yeah.
Rather than a sequence of patterns.
Exactly, yeah. So if you wanted to chain things, there doesn't appear to be a way to do that. And our export options are relatively limited in a way. If I hit share sequence, share to SoundCloud, it just straight away sit down and went to share.
Went to share. So I did notice there was a lot of notifications and stuff going up, right?
Yes, and I think this is like a crazy idea. Not in itself. There's a thing called the let's just hit the news. It takes us to the iMPC community, which is quite a nice idea. There's news about what's going on, featured beats and whatever. Okay, very nice. But this, when news happens, it comes up on here and it'll say, oh, so and so has just uploaded a beat, and like, do you want to see that when you work in? I don't. I want to turn it off.
You can't turn it off.
No option to turn it off other than turn off your,
It's getting into the realms of the Microsoft paperclip, isn't it, a little bit?
Very annoying, so please, please, please make that switchable off in some way. So in terms of options, the only thing we've really got is whist that we can turn on and off.
That's like Korg's transport control for
wirelessly starting and stopping other apps if you've got other iPads. Pretty much that's it. There's a mixer we didn't look at with the four tracks.
4-track mixer, basic, yeah.
Yeah. And so it's kind of neat. It's quite nicely. It
seems a shame that it seems like the real problem is that you can create all these patterns and you can create some funky stuff and switch in it, but you then can't do it. Oh look, hold on, Nigel, I just saw a notification come up.
Yes.
Yes.
So
what does that say?
Casey uploaded a beat. I really don't care. Yeah.
But that's it. So you, to actually record any form of long form, you'd have to just either export all the patterns individually and put it together in a DAW.
Yes. Or this is the other thing. Retronyms, who have made this for Akai, their other app of note really is Tabletop, which we haven't actually looked at before in any of our shows, but it's been around for a while.
Device sort of type of.
Yes, it's quite nice. It's like Reason, and rather than things being in a rack, it's called Tabletop. So it's as though it's a virtual tabletop.
Didn't it start out as a sort of Flash type? Browser-based thing.
Ah, I don't know that. Okay,
so, maybe I'm wrong.
Okay.
I often am.
So if we were to go, if like in Tabletop now, a basic layout of Tabletop, we've got a mixer. So it's a bit like Reason. You've got your mixing desk, and now we can like look at devices, and we can bring devices in. And the different devices like you could like bring in a record deck. And things like that.
The MPC is one of those.
The MPC is one of those, and so it's actually so we can bring it in, and there it is. It's a little bit simpler. It's a little more simplified because, for instance,
no transport control.
That's all part of Tabletop.
So presumably you can access your patterns that you create in the full version into this, and then chain them that way, right?
No. You could bring the program. So a program in this language is
like a setup of all the samples.
A setup of the samples.
Okay.
So you could bring those in, but really, as a sequencing, you'd have to do that from within Tabletop. But what it does give you, this is Tabletop version 2, which just came out in conjunction with this, and that does introduce a piano roll editor. So it's quite nice. It works quite well. It looks like it's influenced by Nano Studio, and we can select things, and yeah. I haven't really.
So it allows you to edit, because on the actual iMPC, you can't edit to that degree. You just erase tracks and whatnot.
Exactly, yeah. So you can actually, if I set the track off, so.
Hands and less gun pop back loose. Oh, hands and less gun pop back loose. Oh, hands and less gun pop back loose.
Okay, and then and with Tabletop, as I say, I could jump out here. At the moment, this is routed into the mixing desk, but I could go in here. I could grab some effects, and but something that is a bit annoying is that the effects that were in the standalone one are not actually. You haven't got any effects in here, and
those effects aren't available in.
Not for free.
So it's in-app purchase, right? Okay.
There's in-app purchase. There's a store in here. You see.
It all sounds a bit disjointed. I mean, I like the idea of it, but it sounds like it's a little bit disjointed. And if you were using the MPC to create songs and beats,
yes,
there isn't really a path out into the outside world apart from exporting individual patterns and then bringing them into your DAW or however you wanted to do that.
Yes, yeah. So that is, I think that's a limitation. And you can see how this is quite a nice thing. If you were just to work within Tabletop, it's actually Tabletop is quite nice as a working environment.
Right. Does Tabletop come with the iMPC when you buy it?
No. But if you buy iMPC, you can get I think you get Tabletop free then. Right. So it works that way around. Or you could buy if from within the Tabletop store. The device store. You
can buy it, right? Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of an interesting idea with the Tabletop thing that that the fact that like a third party. It's almost.
I mean, you were saying though you did actually put a whole bunch of stuff together in this last night.
Yes.
And it bonked on you. Yeah.
Yeah. I spent about 45 minutes. I made a nice little tune and it crashed. And most iPad crashes, you tend to pick up from where you left off if you've crashed, but it had vanished.
Oh dear, lost everything.
Yes, and that kind of thing is.
It puts you off a bit, right?
Absolutely, yeah, because you don't really have this save thing going on with iPads, do you?
No.
Things just always seem to be saving. So to have lost all that work, it felt like the bad old days again,
So let's get to details.
Yeah.
How much is it?
Well, its launch price is $6.99 or £4.99. Now, I'm not sure what that is going to be once the launch period's over.
So if you're into the MPC way of doing things, then try it out, because it's definitely got a bunch of useful sounds in there, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think if there was anything, its greatest strength, I think, is it's got a great library.
And the sampling looks pretty good too.
Yeah, pretty cool.
So once again, that's the iMPC from Akai, available on the iTunes Store now, hot off the press. That's pretty much it for this week. We're pretty much done. So I hope you've enjoyed another episode of Sonic Touch. I've been Nick Batt, editor of Sonic State.
Yeah, and I've been Gaz Williams.
And once again, please do keep your suggestions coming, because it really is helpful for us to spot apps as they come, even if it gets through Gaz's very fine meshed net. But yeah, so leave any suggestions or any comments, keep them coming down below, right there. So that's it for another week.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much. See you later.
Bye.